Do you have bogey players, Ronnie?
Yeah, there's some players you play well against and some players you don't play so well against, because he plays the game the way it should be played, and it's not like playing someone like Peter Ebdon where you can just sit in there for a long time while he makes 12.
The Premier League of Snooker had big players and big money, so why did it vanish? In this video, I'll cover the history of the tournament and identify the key reasons that it's gone from our screens, and ask the question, should Premier League Snooker make a comeback? Before I get into the video, please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content such as analysis, deep dives and all things snooker. And also drop my Instagram and TikTok a follow if you're interested, I'll put them in the description. The Premier League of Snooker was the brainchild of Barry Hearn, as it was formed in 1987 as the Matchroom League and later was known as the Matchroom European League. The format of the tournament frequently changed, with the initial format being a straight round robin before the playoff system came into force in 1992. During the first 10 years of play, the tournament was dominated by Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry, with both legends winning 4 tournaments apiece. Jimmy White, Ken Doherty and Ronnie O'Sullivan nicked wins during the first 10 years too. One of the key issues I found with the tournament during these early days was the fact that the tournament was not marketed as a major event and was seen as more of a series of exhibitions, the opposite to the way darts have marketed their Premier League. Another issue I found was that between 1992 and 1998, the tournament remained at just one venue, the Diamond Centre in Earthling in Northamptonshire. This lack of promotion as a major event and then the lack of exposure by remaining constricted to one venue really hurt the tournament during the 1990s. In 1999, someone at Matchroom had a brainwave. Why don't we move the Premier League about a bit? This was the genesis of the modern Premier League format we saw in snooker and now most notably in darts, where match weeks were moved around the country. In 1999, game weeks took place in Torbay, Barrow and Lincoln, with the playoffs taking place in Maidenhead. The venues weren't big and they weren't glamorous, but there was progress, right? Well, sort of. By the time the Premier League reached its peak, which was between 2004 and 2008, where Sky pushed coverage on their main channels, game weeks were still taking place in places like Crewe, Peterlee, Kidderminster, Basingstoke and Grimsby. The venues and the locations just weren't it. The glamour that should have come with a prestigious league phase event just didn't happen. Consequently, the event became a bit of a farce, and many considered it paid practice. In his 2013 autobiography Running, Ronnie O'Sullivan had this to say about the Premier League. I had no problem with the Premier League. That was a tournament made for me. There's a stop clock, and you have to play a shot every 25 seconds. But because that so obviously benefited my natural game, I never counted it as a real victory. The Premier League was almost a given, my banker, and my mortgage paid for the year. Do you see the problem? Incidentally, between 1997 and the last Premier League in 2012, Ronnie O'Sullivan won 10 Premier League titles out of a possible 17, and he didn't even compete in the final one in 2012, so that drops it to a possible 16. Stephen Hendry won the Premier League 6 times in total, with other players such as Stuart Bingham and Sean Murphy also getting their hands on the title. Do you see the pattern? Attacking players win it, defensive players do not. So was the Premier League a total disaster? Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask Barry Hearn or Ronnie O'Sullivan, I'm sure they'd say no. But if you ask someone like Mark Selby or John Higgins or Peter Ebdon, highly successful players, they'd probably say it was a waste of their time. And the public? Well, viewing figures were consistent until a mini boom in the mid-2000s, where Sky began showing the matches live. But ultimately, the interest in the event completely dropped off a cliff, and it was scrapped by Matchroom and the World Snooker Tour in 2012. And the reason? Well, I think league formats for football, Formula 1, darts, and maybe even sports such as tennis, they work. The sports are quick-paced and therefore they suit a short league format. Snooker isn't that kind of sport, it's more akin to golf. Its excitement is situational and is a much more leisurely paced sport. Therefore, to make snooker work in a league phase, you have to start changing the rules, bringing in a shot clock, playing with 6 reds instead of 15, playing snooker shootout rules. And I don't think the majority of snooker fans actually want this, and that is a huge problem. Another key issue is the regularity of fixtures. I really look forward to those box office matches between 2 snooker heavyweights, O'Sullivan versus Higgins, Trump versus Wilson, Selby versus Robertson. These are matches that should be saved for big tournaments in big venues for big prize money, and the Premier League never really had any of that. And to have fixtures like that with such regularity in tin pot venues, it's just not what the public want. So is there a future for the Premier League in snooker? Well, I think most people would say no. However, I think there might be. With countries such as China and Saudi Arabia beginning to host more and more events, I think entrepreneurs in these countries in particular may look at the Premier League as a failed opportunity. Let's face it, do the majority of snooker fans really want a major event in Riyadh? I'd argue no. Do they want the World Championship to be held in Shanghai? I'd argue that any European fan would also say no. Do snooker fans want to watch the Golden Ball 167 event in Saudi Arabia? Again, I don't think so, but these things continue to be discussed by the people that run the game, and as we all know, money talks. I can honestly see a 6-man or 8-man league phase event being picked up by someone in Saudi or China, and would that be good for snooker? Who knows. But what do you think? Do you think the Premier League should make a comeback? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again guys, and if you like snooker analysis, why not check out my last video where I dissected whether Judd Trump is a legend or not.